The Open Military, Don't Ask, Don't Tell. During his January 2010 State of the Union address, President Obama vowed to abolish Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This past May, the House of Representatives passed a repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and in September, a federal court banned this policy. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was initially made to permit homosexuals serving in the armed forces in a confidential manner. Repeal would mean change not only for homosexuals in the military, but also for heterosexuals and their families. The Senate is set to debate this policy in the next few months, and it's in every voter's best interest to be informed about this current event. Today, I would like to address with you the original purpose of the law, some of the current discussions between those who support and those who oppose the repeal, and possible implications of repeal. Most of my information comes from the Congressional Digest and ABC News. The original purpose of this law was to ensure some way for homosexuals to serve in the military. President Clinton was responsible for the legislation that was passed in 1993. Right after his inauguration, he requested that the Secretary of Defense create a policy ending discrimination, which was immediately hit with opposition, and he conceded to the now Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. Homosexuals, as defined by the military, is a person, regardless of sex, who engages in, attempts to engage in, has a propensity to engage in, or intends to engage in homosexual acts, and includes the terms both gay and lesbian. Some of the can-nots of this policy include that service members cannot be asked about their sexual orientation, they cannot be investigated unless there is solid evidence against them, and they cannot reveal their gay identities. Many service members have been affected by this policy. Since 1993, over 13,500 members have been discharged. And ABC News says that since the court judge, Virginia Phillips, put a ban on the policy, many openly gay members are re-enlisting. The congressional findings say that according to the Constitution, it is the responsibility of Congress to determine qualifications and conditions of military service, ultimately stating that legislation can prohibit anyone from serving in the military. This is obviously still a touchy subject for many, and if the vote to repeal is gaining a lot of momentum. Now I'd like to talk to you about some of the arguments posed by those who support and those who oppose the repeal. The proponents say that there is a need for qualified personnel and state that we are fighting terrorism on two fronts, in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that our military forces are thinning and that we need those human resources. They also say that it is a violation of basic human rights. They cite the racial integration that happened as a precedent to the fact that there would not be a negative effect on performance and effectiveness in the military. Opponents of repeal say that there is no constitutional right to serve in the armed forces, and that the primary purpose of the armed forces is to prepare for and to prevail in combat should the need arise. They are also waiting on the Pentagon report, which is due in December, before they make any final judgments. And they claim that morale, readiness, recruitment, and retention could all suffer from a change in this policy. They also state that the military lives and operates under a different set of rules, and that the military is not a forum for a civil rights movement. To determine possible implications, the Pentagon has been conducting a survey asking specific questions about gays in the military and the effect that they may have on military life. To find my own answers, I conducted an interview with Chief Petty Officer Brian Victorero of the U.S. Navy. I asked him how repeal would affect his life at sea, and he told me that he has actually already served with a gay sailor, and there was not really a negative connotation to it. He said that they were accepting of him, and that if, and I quote, a bunch of sailors locked in a steel tube for months on end can be tolerant of gay men in their ranks, then any other command should be able to fall in line. He said that unit cohesion is very difficult at sea, and if they can do it, then anybody else should be able to do it as well. I asked him what some possible consequences could be for the military in general. He said that it is naive to believe that all gays would assimilate to the ordinances, but that they should have the opportunity. He said that fear in leadership comes from the fact that they think they may try to subvert regulations on account of their lifestyle. and that his personal major concern is that gays will not adhere to the strict code outside the uniform, which includes piercings, dress code, and conduct unbecoming. He said that they should have to follow the same rules he does, if not, that they don't belong in the military. Today, I've shared with you the original policy and its intent, given you the major discussion points on each side, and given you the inside perspective of Brian Victorero, who's a Chief Petty Officer in the U.S. Navy. Now it's time to make your own choice about Don't Ask, Don't Tell. These are the faces of the best of the best. These are the bravest and most courageous citizens we have in this nation. And they are our soldiers, they're our heroes, and they fight and die for our freedom every day. Where do you stand?